Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching the second episode of India in UNSC. Remember, we brought to you the first episode of our India in UNSC series last month. It gave you a roundup of all that took place in the UNSC in the month of January. Now, over the next 30 minutes, we'll get you a flavor of all the meetings and discussions that engaged the attention of the United Nations Security Council in the month of February. Now, just to remind our viewers tuning in from around the world, India has been elected to the UN Security Council for 2 years, 2021 and 2022. And we at DD India will keep you posted about UNSC activities every month. All right then, let's get started. First up, take a look at the countries or regions that figured in the UNSC in February. They included Myanmar, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Ukraine, Iraq, Yemen, Haiti, Central African Republic, and Palestine. And some of the issues that came up for discussion included peacekeeping, environment, peace and security in general, and the Islamic State or Daesh in particular, and COVID-19. Right, let me dive straight into the biggest issue that confronted the UNSC in February, and that was Myanmar. On 1st February, the Myanmar army ousted the democratically elected government headed by Aung San Suu Kyi, imposed an emergency and seized power. Protests broke out, tens of people have been killed and hundreds wounded. The UNSC held a closed-door meeting on Myanmar on 4th February. A press statement was issued by Council President Barbara Woodward of the United Kingdom. Now, the UK held the rotating monthly presidency of the UNSC in February. Now, while on the subject of Security Council presidency, did you know India will hold the rotating monthly presidency of the UNSC in August 2021? The presidency of the council is held by each of the 15 members in turn for 1 month, following the English alphabetical order of the member states' names. Now, coming back to the UNSC statement on Myanmar, India and all the other UNSC members called for the immediate release of State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, President Win Myint, and others. They emphasized the need for the continued support of the democratic transition in Myanmar. Myanmar came up for discussion in the United Nations General Assembly too. India's permanent representative to the UN in New York, T.S. Tirumurthy, said restoring democratic order should be the priority of all stakeholders in Myanmar.
As the largest democracy, we have always been steadfast in our support to the process of democratic transition in Myanmar for it to emerge as a stable democratic federal union. A significant area of our focus has been capacity building, including in the areas of constitution and federalism for political leaders and elected representatives. We believe that the rule of law and democratic process must be upheld, those detained be released, and that calm prevails. We call on the Myanmar leadership to work together to resolve their differences in a peaceful and constructive manner.
So, India has direct stakes in the maintenance of peace and stability in Myanmar. Now, that is not all. The issue of displaced persons from the Rakhine state of Myanmar is equally a priority. As the only country that shares a long border with both Bangladesh and Myanmar, India says it has the highest stake in resolving the issue of repatriation of the displaced persons known as the Rohingyas. Now, India has given aid in 5 installments for the Rohingyas who fled to Bangladesh. India has entered into an agreement with Myanmar to undertake developmental work in the Rakhine State under what is known as the Rakhine State Development Program. It includes houses, water, electricity and roads. India has also taken up an ambitious connectivity project being implemented in the Rakhine and Chin states of Myanmar for the benefit of the local population.
India commends Bangladesh for hosting 1 million displaced persons in its territory. It is important for the international community to recognize and understand the humanitarian burden that Bangladesh continues to face and the efforts it has undertaken to ensure the well-being of the displaced persons. The international community must further support, financially and otherwise, efforts of the government of Bangladesh and also assist in ensuring that issues relating to radicalization in the camps and other security challenges are addressed in an expeditious manner.
All right, time for a short break, but before that, it's question time. Here's a quiz question just for you. When is the International Day of Human Fraternity celebrated? I'll give you a hint. It was celebrated a few weeks ago. The correct answer when we come back. Keep watching DD India. Don't go anywhere.
Quiero iniciar dando un agradecimiento muy especial al primer ministro de la India, a Narendra Modi, y al ministro de Relaciones Exteriores, al doctor Jai Shankar, por haber recibido de nuestra parte nuestra llamada para tratar de conseguir vacunas Covishield que tienen bajo la licencia de AstraZeneca, son producidas en la India. Fue para nosotros una agradable sorpresa el saber que la India, lejos de ofrecernos en venta, nos ofreció inmediatamente una asistencia de 200,000 dosis que van a ser 100,000 vacunas que vendrán a reforzar a la primera línea de nuestro país.
Health Canada authorized the AstraZeneca Oxford COVID-19 vaccine, as well as the Serum Institute of India's version, Covishield, which is sponsored in Canada by Mississauga's Verity Pharmaceuticals. In other words, we now have a third safe and effective vaccine independently approved by health experts in Canada. This is very encouraging news. Canada has secured 2 million doses of the Covishield vaccine through an agreement with Verity Pharmaceuticals and the Serum Institute of India. I want to express my appreciation for the support and partnership of the Indian government in fighting COVID-19 and helping secure these doses for Canadians.
Welcome back. You're watching India in UNSC episode 2, which gives you a lowdown on all that took place in the United Nations Security Council in the month of February. Now, before we went into the break, I asked you, when is the International Day of Human Fraternity celebrated? The correct answer is 4th February. I repeat, 4th February. So congratulations if you got it right. Better luck next time if you did not know the answer. We've got one more quiz question coming your way on this episode, so stay tuned. Now, just to give you a backgrounder on the International Day of Human Fraternity, the UNSC adopted a resolution on December 2020 in which it proclaimed 4th February as the International Day of Human Fraternity. It's to be observed each year. Now, 4th February this year was the first time the International Day of Human Fraternity was celebrated. Right, moving on for now. 17th February saw Indian Foreign Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar take part in a UNSC open debate on follow-up to implementation of Resolution 2532. The Resolution 2532 was adopted on 1st July 2020. It sought an immediate cessation of hostilities in all situations on its agenda. It also called upon all parties to armed conflicts to engage immediately in a durable humanitarian pause so that humanitarian assistance could be delivered to the needy. In his address, Minister Jaishankar announced a gift of 200,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine for UN peacekeepers.
India has been very much at the forefront of this global fight against COVID-19 pandemic. We had earlier provided critical medicines, diagnostic kits, ventilators and PPEs to more than 150 countries, about 80 of them on a grant basis. Today, the pharmacy of the world is stepping forward to meet the global vaccines challenge. 2 vaccines, including one indigenously developed, have already been granted emergency authorization. Additionally, as many as 30 candidates are under various stages of development.
The Indian Foreign Minister concluded by quoting from the Bhagavad Gita. He said the Bhagavad Gita says, "Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind." Now, climate change was another issue that came up prominently at the UNSC in February. On 23rd February, Indian Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar took part in a UNSC open debate on addressing climate-related risks to international peace and security. He spoke about the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement. In his speech, Minister Javadekar highlighted India's own climate actions. Take a look. Now, talking about climate change, the Indian envoy to the UN in New York took part in a briefing on COP26 on 8th February. If you're wondering what COP26 is all about, well, it stands for the 26th meeting of the Conference of Parties. The Conference of Parties, or COP, is the apex decision-making body of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or the UNFCCC. The Indian envoy said India is the only G20 country on course to achieve the Paris Agreement targets and even exceed them. He outlined India's expectations on market mechanisms, pre-2020 implementation, climate finance, adaptation and technology transfer. Now, did you know that the UK will host the COP26 at Glasgow. The summit will bring parties together to accelerate action towards the goals of the Paris Agreement and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. All right, time for a short break, but before that, I've got one more quiz question for you in question time. You have to tell me when and where was the first Conference of Parties or COP1 held. You need to give me the year and name of the city or country. I'll give you a hint. It was in Europe. The correct answer when we come back. Keep watching DD India. Don't go anywhere.
भारत की वैक्सीन हमारी उत्पादन क्षमता पूरी मानवता के हित में काम आए, ये हमारी प्रतिबद्धता है।
अब मुश्किल घड़ी में विशेष रूप से इस पूरी दुनिया की महामारी की वक्त बेशक भारत हमारा सबसे पहले जवाब देने वाला दोस्त रहा है।
করোনা ভাইরাসের আপনারা জানেন যে ভ্যাকসিন আমাদের যেটা আমরা পেয়েছি ভারত থেকে উপহার স্বরূপ, সেটা এসে পৌঁছে যাচ্ছে। সেই জন্য ভারতের প্রধানমন্ত্রীকে আমি ধন্যবাদ জানাই।
A vision where India, the world's largest democracy and the largest producer of vaccines, not only provides the House of Parliament to Afghanistan and the dams that are the pride of this country, but also partners with us in terms of securing our lives and livelihood. The solidarity that India has demonstrated is an indication of both our deep historical relationship and the promise of two democracies working in this region together. Let me thank Prime Minister Modi and all the government of India for this exceptional act of solidarity and generosity.
Welcome back. You're watching India in UNSC episode 2, which gives you a lowdown on all that took place in the UN Security Council in the month of February. Now, before we went into the break, I asked you when and where was COP1 held. The correct answer is 1995 at Berlin in Germany. Now, just so you know, the UNFCCC was formed in 1994 to stabilize greenhouse gas emissions and to protect the earth from the threat of climate change. So congratulations if you got it right. Better luck next time. If you did not know the answer, we'll keep coming back to you with more questions in subsequent episodes, so stay tuned. Now, peacekeeping is an important facet of UN operations. At the UN General Assembly discussion on peacekeeping, the Indian envoy recalled the first all-woman police contingent from India in Liberia. The envoy saluted the yeoman service of Indian peacekeepers, especially those who made the supreme sacrifice. Now, India has a long tradition of sending women on UN peacekeeping missions. In 2007, India became the first country to deploy an all-woman contingent to a UN peacekeeping mission in Liberia. And UN Peacekeeping tweeted that despite the numerous challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, the UN Interim Force in Lebanon, or UNIFIL, maintained a high operational capacity. The photographs show Indian peacekeepers patrolling along the blue line in southern Lebanon alongside the Lebanese armed forces. Now, there's something else you should know. India has contributed more peacekeepers than any other country. More than 244,500 Indians have served in 49 out of 71 UN peacekeeping missions since the year 1948. And that is not all. India has lost more peacekeepers than any other UN member state. 169 Indian peacekeepers have lost their lives. Currently, there are 6,178 Indian troops and police deployed on UN peacekeeping missions. Let me pull up some graphics just for you. India commenced peacekeeping with its participation in the UN operation in Korea in the 1950s. India's mediatory role in resolving the stalemate over prisoners of war in Korea led to the signing of the armistice ending the Korean War. India chaired the 5-member Neutral Nations Repatriation Commission, and the Indian Custodian Force supervised the process of interviews and repatriation that followed. Take a look at this short video to know more about Indian peacekeepers.
The contribution you have made to inspiring Liberian women, to impart in them the spirit of professionalism, to encourage them to join those entities, those operations that protect the nation. For that we will always be grateful.
All right, time for a quick glance at what else took place in February with my colleague Deepika Mehto.
Well, thank you so much, Ramesh. And now let's take a quick look at other top highlights at the UNSC in our special edition, India in UNSC. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres thanked Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar for his offer of 200,000 doses of COVID-19 for UN peacekeepers. In his 17th February letter, Guterres said India has been a global leader in pandemic response efforts. The Indian envoy tweeted saying that Guterres appreciated India's efforts to support and strengthen the COVAX facility to ensure more equitable access. World Health Organization Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus also lauded India for its effort to combat COVID-19. He tweeted his thanks to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for supporting vaccine equity. He also hoped that other countries would follow India's example. And on the other hand, a report prepared by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, that is called the UNCTAD, ranked India at #1 among other countries that are performing better on frontier technologies. India was ranked above the Philippines, Ukraine, Vietnam and China. Talking about the India-UN Development Partnership Fund that rehabilitated and equipped Salisbury Primary School complex after Hurricane Maria in Barbados, the fund also partners with Cape Verde's Ministry of Health and Social Security and the UNFPA to fight against HIV/AIDS. Cape Verde is an archipelago and island country in the Central Atlantic Ocean. The India-UN Development Partnership Fund has worked with Moldova to improve population data collection and use so that the East European country could build a statistical population register. The fund was helping to improve lives of young people and women in Benin in Africa through agricultural diversification and support. Whereas international peace was also discussed as the Indian envoy T.S. Tirumurti spoke at the Security Council briefing on threats to international peace and security caused by terrorist attacks. Take a listen. At a UNSC meeting on the United Nations Assistance Mission for Iraq, the Indian envoy said, as a reliable and long-standing friend, India will remain a willing partner of Iraq in its nation-building endeavors to deliver prosperity to its people, unquote. And lastly, talking about India and Libya relations, India welcomed the progress made in the formation of a transitional executive authority in Libya. The Indian envoy hoped that all Libyan parties would work constructively towards implementation of a roadmap and holding of elections. And that's all in this edition of India and UNSC News in Brief. Over to you, Ramesh.
Thank you, Deepika. And with that, it's a wrap. But news continues here on DD India. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. We'll be back with another episode of India in UNSC soon. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.